Every NetherRealm game since Mortal Kombat 9 has featured guest characters. In fact, NetherRealm has embraced the idea of a guest character so often in their recent games that they're often thought of the fighting game that popularized the idea, even though that's not the case. I can't really blame anybody for thinking that. NetherRealm has featured a whole 11 guest characters since Mortal Kombat 9 included Kratos and Freddy, 8 of those characters being in their last 2 games alone. It's obvious that NetherRealm is going to put a few more into MK11, and today we're going to responsibly speculate about who those characters might be. Spawn, in my opinion, is the most likely character to show up in Mortal Kombat 11. He fits the universe perfectly, being one of the most brutal anti-heroes in all of comic books, and honestly, if we don't get him, I feel like NetherRealm owes everybody a formal apology. I mean, Ed Boon has teased Spawn more than any other character on his personal Twitter since Mortal Kombat X, and it'd be downright unethical and mean-spirited to continue excluding this character from NetherRealm fighting games. We thought he was coming in Mortal Kombat X, we thought he was coming in Injustice 2, and now we think he's coming in Mortal Kombat 11. He's either the safest pick, or Ed Boon just enjoys cyberbullying his 459,000 Twitter followers, and there's no middle ground. It's one or the other. I also feel like the T-800 is a pretty safe bet. Like Spawn, he's shown up in Twitter polls on Ed Boon's personal page, and keep in mind that Ed Boon's polls always carry some weight, even if we have to wait a few games for them to come true. The T-800 has the advantage of being owned by Warner Brothers, so he really isn't even a guest character, he's just a guest to the Mortal Kombat universe. A universe that has seen its fair share of cyborgs and evil robots already. The T-800 has an iconic and terrifying design that even non-fans of the series would recognize. I think placing your bets on a Terminator showing up is a pretty safe one. And hell, they might even put Arnold Schwarzenegger's likeness in the game. I mean, how hard can it be to get his likeness if WWE was able to do it for their wrestling game? In my opinion, the Joker is this year's dark horse, and I feel like everybody who's writing him off is being foolish. Let me explain. The Mortal Kombat universe is a brutal one where every fight is a fight to the death, so a lot of people assume that DC's characters are completely off limits. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to have characters like Batman killing people, and it wouldn't be true to a lot of heroes' characters. That, and a lot of people are under the impression that Warner Brothers and DC don't want their characters getting brutally dismembered. So what happens when we get a character who has been brutally dismembered time and time again, a character who is arguably the most iconic supervillain in all of comics, a character who's getting their very first standalone movie this freaking year? Well, the odds that the Joker shows up in Mortal Kombat 11 increase substantially. I think it's the obvious business decision, and the DC characters that showed up in Injustice 2's DLC were both fan favorites and representations for DC movies. It makes sense that MK11 would also be partially decided by whatever movies Warner Brothers wants to promote. Let's be honest here. The Joker would fit way better in Mortal Kombat gameplay than in Injustice gameplay. Sure, he would be along other DC characters in Injustice, and he looks good with that roster, but the Joker is a sick, twisted, sadistic genius that doesn't get his proper treatment in his Injustice gameplay. In both games, he's basically just the joke character. In Mortal Kombat, on the other hand, the Joker would finally get to let out his sadistic side and go full rated M. While I don't think he's guaranteed by any means, I definitely think he's another safe bet that would work wonders in the MK universe. Another Warner Brothers owned clown with a movie dropping this year is Pennywise. He would fit alongside NetherRealm's love for horror characters, and it would make sense to advertise the new It film, dropping later this year. I'm not sure how likely Pennywise is, but he's gotten the Ed Boon Twitter treatment, so he automatically enters the conversation. He'd have a pretty unique moveset too. You see, Pennywise isn't actually a clown. The true nature of the creature is that it is an ancient demonic entity from the Macroverse. Pennywise, naturally, is just one form of this It creature and has an array of interesting powers. He can shapeshift, he has telepathic abilities, invisibility, teleportation, the ability to create physical illusions, and cause people to hallucinate and fall under his mind control. Since its true form can't be properly comprehended by human beings, I think just using Pennywise as its form makes the most sense, especially since it's the most iconic. Overall, this is a likely character that would have one of the most unique movesets out of any guest character, period. You know, I don't really have much to say about Michael Myers. He's definitely in line with Freddy, Jason, and Leatherface. He's a slasher character, and I can't say I'm the biggest fan of the character. Mikey just has an iconic design, and I could totally see him getting into the game. You know, it's been a while since we've seen a video game character show up in a NetherRealm game, but there's really no better option than Doomguy. He's an icon spanning back to the birth of first-person shooters, and he's definitely capable of dishing out some brutal fatalities. I've heard people say Doomguy should show up in Smash, but I disagree. He'd have to be so censored in Smash that he really wouldn't be Doomguy anymore, he'd just be generic Space Marine. He'd lose out on an important part of the Doom identity. In Mortal Kombat, however, Doomguy gets to murder and blow up heads in whatever brutal fashion he desires. Doomguy also isn't a Sony or Microsoft character, which adds to his chances. I've heard quite a few people mention how cool it would be to see character exclusives back like Master Chief or Kratos, but there's a big problem with that. They would be console exclusive, and with the growing popularity of esports, console exclusive characters are just too complicated and difficult to manage. What console should we play on? Do we allow crossplay? Do we make a version of the game just for tournaments where all characters are just playable? Would the game be crossplay, right? It would have to be. There's no way it wouldn't. Would Sony allow that? Doomguy is completely free from these issues plaguing the other characters, and that makes him just a little bit more likely. Finally, we have John Wick, and listen, I really don't think John Wick is that likely. He's basically in a video game already, and the movies are doing great, but he's just a normal dude. Due to how creative John is with his killing and fighting, he could still have a pretty dope moveset, and he's personally a character I would love to see. But for some reason, I just don't feel like he's likely at all. It's just a gut feeling. I can't explain it. When I sniff the air, I don't smell John Wick in the future. That being said, NetherRealm, please put this dog-loving man into the video game. Please, God, I love him so much, and he's the character I want most in this game, since you won't give a Shaggy. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't noticed already, the upload schedule has slowed down just a little bit. My friends are back from spring break, and they're having fun, and we're relaxing, and it's a good time. Once spring break is over, we will be back to the normal schedule, where I'm going to be trying to get uploads up every day, if possible. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I do upload. YouTube will literally never tell you otherwise, and you'll never hear this beautiful voice again. Check the links in the description to follow me on Twitter or join my Discord. I highly recommend joining that Discord. I've started hosting a bi-weekly podcast where the guests are my subscribers in my Discord server. So with all of that said, I'll smell you later.